So I guess the first question is leaky gut. You were mentioning, right?
Right.
There's a lot of leaky gut issues, and there's a lot of people that suffer from leaky gut that don't find out through their doctors.
Right.
Right? You'll see it in groups like, no, I think this is what I have. I need somebody else that can help me. I don't know what to do. So I guess my question is, where do you think that it starts? Is there something that we as mothers can do for our kids to prevent this from happening? Right. I know there's also a lot of talks between vaccines and leaky guts, all these things. Yep. I want to hear from you. Where do you think it starts? What can a mom do to set your kid up for a good life and no leaky gut issues? Yep. And then for the moms, that maybe they're suffering from that and they're not sure, like how can you figure out if that's what you're suffering from and where do you go?
So you may have heard of this topic, this concept, this condition called leaky gut syndrome.
Yeah.
And it's not new. It's very real. It's very evidence-based. Gastroenterology is now recognizing it as a thing. Mm-hmm. Most people don't understand from where it originates or where it's the pathology. So why don't we start there as it relates to what this even is, right? So in the lumen of your intestine, in the tubing of your intestine, if you were to put your intestine under a microscope and go really, really deep, you're going to see these finger-like projections called villi. And then if you look on these villi, you're going to see microscopic villi. Okay, these are microvilli. Between these villi, and I'll just take a tangent for a second, we are supposed to be permeable. We're supposed to absorb nutrients, macronutrients like carbohydrates and fats and proteins, and micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. But when we become hyper-absorbent, or we absorb too many different things that we probably shouldn't absorb, that's the bottom line definition of leaky gut syndrome, right? So in this microvilli, they become degenerative. They start to break down. And the why we'll get to. But the idea is that when they break down, they're called gap junctions. They open up and they let large molecules, polysaccharides, they're called carbohydrates or proteins, into the general circulation. Now your body says, what the heck is that? Your immune system goes crazy. That often, these proteins and carbohydrates, they look like the same things that are on viruses and bacteria. So the body wants to be safe, and so it attacks that molecule. And when it attacks, it remembers. Your immune system does one thing very well, and that is to remember, all right? So it's not about what's healthy or not healthy, what food is good or bad, or what's organic or inorganic. It's simply the mistake the body makes one day when there is that hyperpermeability or leakage into your system. Could be broccoli or avocados, could be chicken, could be wheat, right? It's not relevant as to the degree of health around that food or that thing. It's that it's gotten into the general circulation, immune system responds, creates memory about what that is. Next time you eat it, you're gonna have body-wide issues, cognitive decline, lack of focus. You're going to have possibly bloating and distension, but often people don't have those symptoms down here. They're body-wide. They feel lethargic. They feel, they're getting, repeat infections. These individuals with leaky gut syndrome. So, cognitive decline and the tie-in here, because this is now the new epidemic. Alzheimer's and progressive cognitive decline. Just like there's leaky gut, there's leaky brain. In fact, there's leaky heart. Maybe we'll get to that, but leaky brain.
I have never heard about leaky brain.
So leaky brain is the same process, just like in the heart, in the gut. In the brain, it's called the blood-brain barrier. So the brain is very, very picky about what it allows in. Okay. When there is permeability down here, there's permeability up here, and I'll make the connection in a second. That's what the true meaning of gut-brain interaction or mind-gut interaction. When this is upset, this is upset. When this is upset, this is upset. So the connectivity here is zonulin. Zonulin is a protein biomarker that you can get from your doctor. Ask them to test for zonulin. It's simply a blood test. Zonulin is the regulator of the permeability. It allows the gap junctions to open up just enough to allow the right stuff through. If it allows too much through, zonulin has been increased. And when zonulin gets increased, it creates hyperpermeability. Zonulin travels the system. When zonulin gets into the brain, it's allowed by the blood-brain barrier. It opens up the foot pads that ultimately connect to the neurons and the arterial system in the brain, the blood flow circulation, opening those systems up, allowing things to get in. Now, what are these things? It's not just the foods, good or bad, that your immune system has said, I don't like that because it's been hyperpermeable. It's also heavy metals, it's toxins, dioxins, furans, you name it, anything that might be in our food chain to begin with, antibiotics. And when you're leaky, you get more leaky, and then that leakiness becomes even more. And it's a chain. So we're not going to get rid of everything in this world. I mean, this world is quite a toxic world.
Yeah.
We can eat organic and we can do the best we can to avoid the toxins. Avoiding toxins is far more important than taking antioxidants to deal with those toxins. So eat organic, number one. Pure water. Pure water. So most city water is considered safe, but it's not pure.
Not in my opinion.
Right. So, but safe. They deem it safe. So typically, this means that you're not going to get an infection, and they're not always right. But safe and pure are two different things. There are still plasticizers, hormone dysregulators, heavy metals, cysts, things that ultimately shouldn't. So, in my opinion, doing things like drinking only pure reverse osmosis or distilled water is where you want to start, right?
Okay.
Organic foods, limiting or reducing the toxic burden load on your body. And then 3, getting tested. Talk to your family doctor. Do an immunoglobulin G and E test to determine the food sensitivities you might have. That will reduce the inflammation, lower the overall immune response, and slowly close those doors that originally opened up too wide, allowing everything in, right? So the idea is that leaky gut is a real thing. Probiotics factor in, good diet, lifestyle, of course, and drinking pure water, and getting tested to determine, is this zonulin factor high? Has it been upregulated? If so, we got to close the channels and the doors so that things are not hyperpermeable.
So for a mom with a baby, you're just saying avoiding the toxins, feeding organic, it's what we should focus on. That would be a good start
toxins
for
lurk everywhere.
I know.
We're built.
Lotions, plastic.
Here's a tip. Here's another tip, and I'm full of tips, but here's a tip. The Environmental Working Group, subsidiary to the Environmental Protection Agency, Skin Deep, just Google Skin Deep.
Yes.
It's a database rich with over hundreds of thousands of not just commercially available products, topical. This industry is not regulated, okay?
Yeah.
There are some of the highest amounts of toxins available in anything, right? But, and forget the impurities that might exist, toxins that shift chemicals. But they'll also list by ingredient, and then they factor in whether this is an immunotoxin, so for your immune system it's not good, a carcinogen, so it can cause cancer, right? So there's all these listings, so go there, put your product into that system. Is it good or should you be tossing it? But we can't avoid all toxins, and most folks out there will be happy to learn that we are built and programmed with the ability to detoxify. That is genetically a variant, so some people are okay and other people are really good, and some people don't detoxify well at all. So testing your DNA, and that's a whole other story, but the idea is we can't avoid all toxins. There's something called the human health threshold. So for moms out there, one example is, for example, getting sick, even getting sick 4 or 5 times when they've got young kids coming home and bringing viruses into the home. If you get sick, just understand, just by virtue of not seeing that virus or bacteria before and your immune system reacting, that's healthy. It's the epitome of overall health is how quickly you can expedite that disease. So how quickly you overcome that virus, bacteria, that flu or infection. All right, if you're lingering on for many, many weeks at a time and you can't recover, that's not healthy. But if it's hard and fast, fever's high, and you're in bed for a couple of days, even up to 5 or 6 times a year, not a problem. That's overall health. Some people who can't detoxify effectively, they'll know in part because they can't recover from colds and flus very effectively, right?
This is great to know.
Right. And so things that might be able to help are probiotics that have been proven for immunity or detoxification, things like glutathione, number of precursors to glutathione, alpha-lipoic acid, N-acetylcysteine, and selenium. These are antioxidants you can supplement with that empowers your detoxification. But once again, it's not all about what you put into yourself. It's simply about being acknowledged, like Cosmetic Database and Skin Deep, what you're not putting into your body, what you're not ingesting.